Five-star quarterback recruits are supposed to have the best chance to be studs in the NFL, but in the 2010s, a lot of them never even came close. So today we're using the 247 Sports Composite rankings and looking at what happened to every single five-star quarterback from that decade, and trust me, some of these stories are wild. And first up, we've got Phillip Sims, who was the only five-star quarterback recruit in the entire 2010 class. He ended up committing to Alabama under head coach Nick Saban. That was a lot of players' dream school back then, but it doesn't always go as planned. Sims redshirted in 2010, backed up A.J. McCarron in 2011, then transferred to Virginia because he needed to be closer to his family. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. In May of 2013, Sims was deemed ineligible to play at Virginia because of academic reasons, so he transferred to a Division II school called Winston-Salem State. After going undrafted, he was signed by the Cardinals, but only ever saw action in the preseason.
It is caught for a touchdown.
After that, he went to the Seahawks practice squad, then found himself signing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL, and finally he became a high school coach. It was a pretty crazy drop-off when you think about it, and sometimes life just has other plans for you than football. But if you thought that one was interesting, stick around because we are just getting started. Next up is Jeff Driskel, who was the Maxwell Football Club National High School Player of the Year in 2010. This guy was seen as the best dual-threat quarterback in his entire recruiting class, but his college career was a mess of injuries, and by the time he made it to the NFL, he was just a backup. Sure, he did have his moments.
And a keeper, Driskel, out of room, on his horse, and he's going to score!
But in 7 seasons, he started just 12 games across 6 different teams, and right now, he's on the Cardinals practice squad. Now, Braxton Miller's story is a bit different. He was a 5-star recruit who actually lived up to the hype at Ohio State, finishing 5th in Heisman voting in 2012 and 9th in 2013. But then he injured his throwing shoulder in the 2014 Orange Bowl, and that changed everything. After surgery, he switched from quarterback to wide receiver for his final college season because he couldn't throw as well. The Texans drafted him in the 3rd round in 2016, but he never found his rhythm in the NFL. Over 2 seasons, he had 262 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns. He bounced around practice squads for a few years after that, but never played another snap. Then we have Gunnar Kiel, who might have one of the most fitting names for a quarterback in history. He committed to Indiana, then decommitted. Committed to LSU, then decommitted. Signed at Notre Dame just to ride the bench behind Everett Golson, then transferred to Cincinnati, all before he played a single college game. When he finally got on the field in 2014, he threw 6 touchdowns in his first game against Toledo. He had 14 passing touchdowns in his first 3 games alone. The guy had a cannon for an arm, and there was a ton of hype around him. Just like many others, he never made it to the NFL, and he's always been called one of the biggest recruiting busts of all time. Alright, so we are 5 players in, and we've finally got a guy here who made a spark in the NFL. Jameis Winston won the Heisman Trophy as a freshman at Florida State and led the Seminoles to a national championship. The Bucs took him 1st overall in 2015, and he set a bunch of rookie franchise records, including most rookie passing yards and most rookie passing touchdowns. But he also threw a lot of picks. I mean, a lot of picks. In 2019, he threw 33 touchdown passes and led the entire league in passing yards with 5,109.
I probably never met somebody with more swagger and charisma ever in my life than Jameis.
Unfortunately, he also led the league in interceptions with 30 that year. He's the only quarterback ever to throw at least 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in a single season. After his contract expired, he bounced around as a backup with the Saints and Browns before landing with the Giants in 2025. He's thrown for over 24,000 yards in his career, but those turnovers have always held him back from being a consistent starter. Max Browne was the best quarterback recruit in his class according to the 247 Sports Composite. In high school, he completed 73.5% of his pass attempts for 12,947 yards and 146 passing touchdowns. Those are insane numbers. But at USC, he struggled to win the starting job. When he finally got his shot in 2016, he couldn't keep Sam Darnold from replacing him. Browne transferred to Pitt and actually played well, but then he injured his shoulder. This is yet another guy from this list that never made it to the NFL. Next is Christian Hackenberg, who was a second-round pick by the Jets in 2016. Hackenberg played 3 seasons at Penn State, and his play was anything but consistent. In 2014, he led the Big Ten in completions and passing attempts, while also throwing more interceptions than touchdowns.
6'4", 223 pounds, the #1 recruit coming out of high school football several years ago. Prototypical size and arm talent. The tape is wildly inconsistent, and I think he's a wild card.
People were calling him a wild card, and wild card is correct because he never played a single NFL snap. He spent 2 seasons with the Jets, then bounced around to the Raiders, Eagles, and Bengals. After that, he played in the AAF before it folded, tried to become a baseball pitcher, got his real estate license, and also coached some high school quarterbacks. Kyle Allen had over 8,200 passing yards and 86 touchdowns in high school. He was ranked as the best pro-style quarterback in his entire class by rivals. But college was a disaster. He transferred from Texas A&M to Houston, sat out a year because of transfer rules, then got benched 4 games into his final season. He went undrafted in 2018 and has signed with 6 different NFL teams since then as a backup. He started a handful of games here and there, but he's never stuck anywhere. Next up is Josh Rosen, and coming out of high school, he was the real deal, and at UCLA, he was also incredible, throwing for over 9,000 yards and 59 touchdowns in 3 seasons. They called him Chosen Rosen for a reason.
He can spin it, and then Lewis, that's the thing. I mean, he's artistic throwing the football, and at 6'4", 225 pounds, you see him, Lewis, 3, 5, 7-step drop. He's definitely NFL ready.
The Cardinals took him 10th overall in 2018, and everybody thought he was going to be the future. But then reality hit. Arizona went 3-10 with him as the starter. Rosen threw 11 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, and head coach Steve Wilks got fired. Then, in a shocking move, Arizona drafted Kyler Murray 1st overall the very next year.
He passed Michael Bidwill in the hallway, and Michael Bidwill, according to Rosen, would not look at him.
Sources say the Miami Dolphins have now traded for former first-round quarterback Josh Rosen from the Arizona Cardinals.
In 2019, Rosen landed in Miami and went 0-3 as a starter. Then he bounced to the Bucs practice squad, the 49ers, the Falcons, the Browns, and the Vikings. He never got a chance to play for more than 1 season on a single team. You can argue that he never really got a fair shot, but all things considered, Josh Rosen is one of the biggest draft busts in recent memory. But you've got to feel for Blake Barnett. He started the season opener for Alabama in 2016, but he lost his job to Jalen Hurts before the second quarter of that game even began. Yeah, not exactly the start that you would hope for. He transferred to Arizona State, went to junior college for a bit to get quicker eligibility, and the NCAA actually approved him to play right away. That didn't help too much, as he couldn't even win the starting job there either. He eventually moved to South Florida and finally played a bit there, but never made it to the next level. Then there's Kyler Murray. It's easy to forget with how he's played recently, but Kyler Murray was one of the most exciting prospects in a long time. He won the Heisman at Oklahoma in 2018 before going 1st overall to the Cardinals in 2019. His rookie season was great. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year and made consecutive Pro Bowl appearances after that. He even led the Cardinals to the playoffs in 2021, which was their first appearance in 6 years. But it's never really clicked in Arizona since then. This season, he got hurt in week number 5, and their head coach, Jonathan Gannon, said that he would have been benched even if he was healthy.
Will Kyler Murray ever play for the Cardinals again?
If they winning games, he damn sure ain't getting back on the field for the last 4 games, right? If they losing games, they want to keep him healthy. They don't want him hurt again. They want him very tradable.
Time will ultimately tell, but it's looking more and more like this will be Murray's final season in Arizona. The next 5-star recruit was Shea Patterson, and he looked very promising in college too. He set Ole Miss's single-game passing yards record, then transferred to Michigan, where he set a bunch of school records there too. Over 4 years, he threw for 8,800 yards and accounted for 76 total touchdowns. But he went undrafted in 2020, signed with the Chiefs, then got cut, tried the CFL but didn't play much. Then he got drafted to the USFL in 2022, number 1 overall, and this year he was released by the Blue Bombers in May. Jacob Eason is next on our list, and he had all the physical tools that you would want in a quarterback. He started at Georgia as a freshman in 2016 and threw for 2,430 yards and 16 touchdowns. But then the injuries started piling up. He only played 5 games in 2017, missed all of 2018, then transferred to Washington for his final year in 2019. He threw for 3,132 yards and 23 touchdowns there, but went just 8-5 as a starter. The Colts took him in the 4th round of the 2020 draft. He bounced around practice squads for the Seahawks, 49ers, Panthers, Giants, and Packers, and he's currently a free agent. After that, we had Davis Mills, who recently just led a big comeback for the Texans, replacing CJ Stroud after he suffered a concussion. Mills was the top-ranked quarterback in his entire recruiting class, a 5-star prospect who went to Stanford and threw for 3,468 yards and accounted for 22 total touchdowns in college. The Texans drafted him in the 3rd round in 2021, and he saw action almost immediately in Week 2 once Tyrod Taylor got hurt. His season was a bit up and down to say the least. He threw 4 picks against the Bills in Week 4, but at the end of the year, he somehow managed to break David Carr's rookie passing yards record with 2,664 yards. In 2022, Mills went 3-10-1 as a starter and led the entire league with 15 interceptions. He threw for 3,118 yards and 17 touchdowns with a 78.8 passer rating. Then in 2023, the Texans drafted CJ Stroud 1st overall, and that was pretty much it for Mills as a starter. Hunter Johnson was the Indy Stars Mr. Football in 2016. He passed for 6,657 yards and 69 touchdowns in high school, and also won MVP of the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. He committed to Tennessee, then flipped to Clemson, but after sitting behind Kelly Bryant, he transferred to Northwestern in June of 2018. And that's where everything fell apart. His first season at Northwestern was a disaster. He completed just 46.3% of his passes for 432 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 interceptions. The next year, he lost the starting job to Peyton Ramsey and didn't record a single stat. Then in 2022, he actually went back to Clemson. In total, he threw for just 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns with 9 interceptions in college. He also went undrafted in 2023. But Tua Tagovailoa was one of the most hyped up draft prospects in recent memory. Remember the whole tank for Tua deal? He won the national championship as a freshman at Alabama and came in 2nd in Heisman voting as a sophomore after throwing for 3,966 yards and 43 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. The guy looked unstoppable. But then he suffered a devastating injury against Mississippi State in 2019 that ended his season and caused him to drop in the 2020 draft. Joe Burrow ended up going 1st overall, and Tua fell to 5th, where the Dolphins grabbed him. His NFL career has been complicated, to say the least. In 2023, he had an incredible year, leading the league with 4,624 passing yards and making the Pro Bowl.
What makes Tua so good is his accuracy. Obviously stands out from anything.
But the concussions have been a major issue. He's had multiple bad ones, including a scary one in 2024 that had people wondering whether he should retire.
You can't help but watch what's happened, and we've seen in the past and wonder, is this the end of his career?
Ultimately, Tua decided to keep playing, though this season has been awful. At this point, I'm not sure how long he has left to be a starting quarterback. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people have said the same exact thing about Trevor Lawrence, a guy who was probably the most hyped up quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck.
There's no such thing as a sure thing in the NFL draft, but Trevor Lawrence provides the closest thing to a certainty we have seen in a long time.
From his sophomore year to his senior year in high school, he led his team to 41 straight wins. At Clemson, he went 38-2 as a starter, won a national championship as a freshman, and threw for over 10,000 yards with 90 touchdowns to just 17 interceptions. The Jags took him 1st overall in 2021, and his rookie year was rough, mainly because of his terrible head coach, Urban Meyer. In 2022, Lawrence settled in a bit more. He threw for 4,113 yards and 25 touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl, and even came back from being down 27-0 to win a playoff game against the Chargers.
Lawrence looking under pressure, throws wide open, making the catch, Marvin Jones.
Since then, though, it's been disappointing. His 2024 season was terrible, and 2025 has not been much better. He's missing throws, the receivers are dropping a ton of balls, and the Jags as a whole are a mess. But even Lawrence doesn't have it as bad as Justin Fields. He went 2-8 as a rookie with the Bears in 2021, but 2022 was actually a step in the right direction. Yes, the Bears did go 3-12 in the games that he started, and he got sacked 55 times to lead the entire league, But he also rushed for 1,143 yards and 8 touchdowns while throwing for 2,242 yards and 17 more scores. That season actually got him tied for 9th in MVP voting. Then the Bears drafted Caleb Williams first overall in 2024 and moved on from Fields. He landed in Pittsburgh and went 4-2 as a starter, which earned him the starting job with the Jets for the next season. But the Jets have been all over the place and Fields has really struggled. At this stage, it's looking like he's a backup, not a franchise guy. But I will say, at least he made it to the pros. JT Daniels played for 4 different schools: USC, Georgia, West Virginia, and Rice. He threw for 9,390 yards and 66 touchdowns over his college career. He was on the roster when Georgia won the national championship in 2021, backing up Stetson Bennett. But he had to retire in 2023 for medical reasons after suffering too many concussions. Since early 2024, he's been an offensive analyst at West Georgia, working with the quarterbacks there. Then we have Spencer Rattler, who a lot of people thought was going to win the Heisman in 2021, but he ended up getting benched against Texas. Caleb Williams came in and Rattler lost the job after that. He transferred to South Carolina, had a couple decent years there, and the Saints took him in the 5th round in the 2024 draft. As a rookie with New Orleans, he finished the year 0-6 as a starter. Then this season, he was 1-7 as a starter before getting benched for Tyler Shuck. Rattler had some good moments.
Rattler to the air, looking deep down the field. Shaheed's got great speed. He's got him. Shaheed down the sideline. Touchdown.
But unfortunately for him, the Saints are one of the worst teams in the league and not doing him any favors. Not exactly what you would expect from a former Heisman favorite. So there you have it. That's what happened to every 5-star quarterback in the 2010s. It's crazy to think that many of these guys were supposed to be the next big thing and never even made it to the NFL. Also, I want to give everybody a quick shout out. If you watched this whole video and you could tell that I'm a little bit sick here, we are powering right through. I love making these videos for you guys and they will keep coming, don't you worry. But what do you guys think? Which one of these stories surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see another video like this, check out this one right here.